Swayam Prabha. Digital India. Educated India.
Which is a very important topic of natural language processing. And this is the task. Part of speech tagging is the task which introduced machine learning to natural language processing. So this particular topic should be understood well, and how machine learning is used to solve part of speech tagging is very instructive. Now, the agenda under this topic is rule-based part of speech tagging, statistical machine learning based part of speech tagging, where we'll pick up very classical, well-established algorithms like hidden Markov model, support vector machine, maximum entropy model, conditional random fields, these algorithms. We will do in detail the application of hidden Markov model to part of speech tagging. As I was saying, part of speech tagging is an extremely important topic of natural language processing, and our agenda under this topic are discussion on three established approaches to any AI problem: rule-based part of speech tagging, statistical machine learning based part of speech tagging, and then neural, which is the modern approach to any AI task, neural or deep learning based part of speech tagging. We'll first devote attention to rule-based and hidden Markov model machine learning based part of speech tagging. Now, when we do part of speech tagging, where are we in terms of the NLP stack? We remarked last time that natural language processing takes place as a layered process. We start with processing of word, which is called morphology, and there the word is broken into its parts. We gave the example of quickly, where quickly is divided into quick and li. Li is the suffix. If we take the example of jaunga, then ja and unga is the suffix. So at this level, the word is broken up into its parts called morphemes, and the features of the word are extracted. For example, jaunga indicates future tense, first person, singular number. Okay, main jaunga. So these features and the parts of the word are extremely important for downstream natural language processing tasks. Downstream means as we go from the lower layer to upper layers, we are taking up more and more complex tasks. So part of speech tagging, you can see, comes at the second layer. So second layer of the NLP stack. Therefore, it interacts with the layer below and the layer above. From layer below, it takes morphology based information, without which part of speech tagging is very difficult to do. So either by an explicit process or by implicit process. Implicit means in the deep learning, ideal deep learning based process, where there is something called end-to-end system. These features and word parts are extracted by a hidden layer, and the problem solver doesn't have to bother. But in rule-based and classical machine learning based approach, the part of speech tagging stage will have to get as input the information from morphology layer. And let us remember what the morphology layer essentially supplies. It supplies the anatomy of the word. That means the morphemes that compose the word, the parts of the word, and the features of the word. Features, you see, are not explicitly present on the word. Okay, it is present through the suffixes. and the word itself. So jaunga, for example, indicates first person singular number future tense and also the activity of going. It is a motion verb. So these are called features. So features are not present on the word explicitly, but they are present through the parts of the word. So they go into the part of speech tagging layer. The pause tagger makes use of this and sends what is called part of speech information to the next layer. That next layer is called the chunking layer, where the words are grouped to produce non-recursive phrases. The phrases which do not contain other phrases embedded in them. And then we move on upwards to do other important tasks like parsing, semantics, discourse, coreference, and so on. So when you're doing part of speech tagging, we also refer to this three-dimensional diagram of NLP, where you have the language axis, the problem axis, and the algorithm axis. So we are talking about part of speech tagger for a particular language. Now for today's discussion, we'll illustrate part of speech tagging technique, the algorithm for part of speech tagging, through English. But the same technique as such will not work for, let's say, Marathi or Hungarian or, let's say, Polish. These languages have a different character than English. If we had done discussion on the theory and technique of morphology, then we would have understood why the part of speech tagger for English, though mostly will work for other languages, will have corner cases or language specific challenges to be negotiated. So for Marathi, what would be the challenge? Marathi is what is called an agglutinative language. We come to know about this from morphology. Agglutinative. Agglutinative comes from the kernel or the core, glue. What does glue mean? Glue means to stick together by applying glue. So agglutinative languages are those where long words are formed by gluing together small words or word parts. So an example of agglutination in Hindi would be jaunga, where ja is a morpheme and unga is the suffix. They are glued together, stitched together. Unstoppable, unstoppable, or unstoppability. Unstoppability is again an example of gluing together of morphemes. The core or the kernel is stop. Then you have un, indicating no. Then you have able. Able indicates possibility, capability. And et is converting an adjective to a noun. So this is an example of stitching together morphemes to create a word. Unstoppability is an example of agglutination. Now languages differ in the amount of agglutination they do. English is mildly agglutinative, so much so that English is called an inflectional language. Okay, inflection and agglutination are morphological phenomenon which we'll do later, but just hear these terms for now. They refer to the process of forming words from their stem or the core. So to do part of speech tagging for Marathi, we'll have to break the agglutination. Okay, we'll have to segment the word and then do part of speech tagging. But that doesn't prevent us from understanding the essential components of part of speech tagging technique. This can be very well illustrated through any language. We have chosen English because there is huge amount of work done for English. In IIT Bombay and elsewhere, we have done part of speech tagging for Indian languages. but the amount of work in English and the translation of that work into other languages is enormous. So having decided the language and the problem, we sit down to create an algorithm for solving the task, and hidden Markov model will be our method for solving part-of-speech tagging. Hidden Markov model, you know, maybe some of you know, others are being informed, has been a very established technique for automatic speech recognition. And the person who gave the part-of-speech tagger for natural language is an automatic speech recognition man called Jelinek. So Jelinek showed how to use hidden Markov model for part-of-speech tagging. He spotted the commonality between two apparently disparate problems, namely automatic speech recognition and part-of-speech tagging. Proceeding further, we would like to understand what happens at the NLP layer of part-of-speech tagging. Part-of-speech tagging on a sequence of words, we are solving a sequence-to-sequence transformer problem. Input is a sequence of words, output is a sequence of part-of-speech tags. So here the output is from Stanford parser. Left hand side is the constituency parser, right hand side is the dependency parser. The constituency parser, which we'll do in detail as we go forward, has to make use of part-of-speech tags. So you can see the part-of-speech tags coming from the Stanford constituency parser. Now what are these part-of-speeches? What is called WP? A is a determiner. Gripping is JJ, means adjective. Movie is NN, means noun. Was is a past tense verb, VBD. Three Idiots is the name of the movie. It is a proper noun. And there is a punctuation mark, exclamation. By convention, punctuation marks are given the same tag. The tag for punctuation marks are same as the punctuation mark itself. So this is what is a WP. A is a DT, gripping is an adjective, movie is noun, was is VBD, Three Idiots is the proper noun. So this is the output coming from part-of-speech tagger, and this you can see is a sequence labeling problem. Every entity which is a part of the sequence is given a label. Now the question we ask is how it is to be done. Now those of you who are keeping track of deep learning techniques, they would see this as a sequence labeling problem. You will take up a by LSTM and LSTM, long short-term memory, which will be an important topic in our course. So by LSTM, because it will take the input left to right and then also right to left, and then it will pass this sequence and it will demand the output to be the part-of-speech tag. So once we have training corpus in large amount, we'll pass it through the deep neural network called BiLSTM and get the training done. So this will be the discussion towards the end of this topic. We go back to understanding rule-based and classical machine learning-based part-of-speech tagging. Now, to do the rule-based system, to create a rule-based system, we need a firm grip on the problem itself. Okay, the constraints of the problem. What is the boundary of the problem? So for that, we begin to understand the part-of-speech tagging task. We want to attach to each word a tag from the tag set. So the tags that I showed, they come from a tag set, typically from what is called the Penn tag set, Penn tree bank tag set. So So tree bank is used for creating a probabilistic parser by machine learning. And the tree bank also has the part of speech tag annotated on the data. Annotated means it is placed as a label on every word. Now the question is, why is part of speech tagging difficult? As we remarked right in the beginning of the course, NLP tasks always face the problem of ambiguity. So take the word best. Best can be adjective, adverb, noun, or a verb. Similarly, better can be adjective, adverb, verb, and determiner. But I elaborate this ambiguity of pause tagging with a particular word. The word is close. Close can be adverb, adjective, verb, and noun. So running close to the competitor, here close is adverb. This was a close escape. Suppose a plane was landing and it got into a difficult landing situation but escaped somehow from an accident. So we have what is called a close escape. Here close is a qualifier for the noun escape. So this is adjective. Close the door, here close is a verb. Towards the close of the play, here close is noun. So you can see the word close has all the 5 basic part of speech tags: adverb, adjective, verb, and noun, all of them. And English has this peculiarity that almost all nouns can act as verb. So therefore, given a sentence or a phrase, the question we ask is, what is the part of speech tag of the target word? Suppose we are interested in close, then running close to the competitor, what is the part of speech tag of close? Because I find from the dictionary that it has these 4 parts of speech. How do I disambiguate amongst these 4 options? So this is surely a classification problem. We'll need to make use of the properties of the input and come to a decision about the part of speech tag of close, which is a multi-class classification problem. Close escape, why is it an adjective? Okay, so this is the kind of thinking that will go behind understanding the part of speech tagging problem. But the problem that we are trying to solve is ambiguity. So words have multiple parts of speech. What a gripping movie was Abhiman. He is gripping it firm, maybe a device. So here we have the ambiguity of part of speech tagging. Gripping can be an adjective, as in gripping movie. Gripping is a verb here. He is gripping it firm. Now, to solve this problem and to understand the complexity of the problem, we need to have an insight into the linguistic properties. So we ask, what kind of part of speech tag a word can have? One set of part of speech tags we obtain from the dictionary. Those are called grammatical role. A word can have 2 roles, grammatical role and functional role. Grammatical role is the part of speech tag coming from the dictionary. Functional role is the part of speech tag coming from the context. Let me illustrate with an example. Take the phrase golf stick. Golf is a noun, but since stick is getting qualified by golf, therefore here in this sentence, the word golf has part of speech tag as adjective. But we distinguish between the dictionary part of speech tag and the contextual part of speech tag. We introduce something called al. So golf is inherently a noun, but in this sentence it is functioning as an adjective, so it is called adjectival. Okay, so noun but adjectival, to distinguish it from a pure adjective, okay, a dictionary adjective. So this is the AL rule. If a word has a different functional part of speech tag, then its grammatical part of speech, then we add L to the functional pause tag. So golf stick is an example of adjectival. Similarly, we can have nominal, where the word is not a noun but functioning as noun, verbal functioning as verb, adjectival functioning as adjective, and adverbial functioning as adverb. So this AL concept is very important. The reason is that it is not so much a problem for the machine learning model as such, the YLSTM support vector machine or a set of rules. Rules has to worry a little bit about this, but it is a big problem when the annotators sit down and begin to annotate data. They are creating training data. Now annotators invariably will ask, what is the tag I should put for golf stick? Should it be adjective or should it be noun? Okay, and there are two schools of thought. Both the schools are correct. Depending on which school you belong to, you will place noun or adjective here. It is okay to place noun here because this will get corrected in the subsequent layer. Rather, placing a noun here has one advantage, that it can indicate this combination to be a compound noun. It is a compound noun. So compound nouns have a very important place in whole of natural language processing. And if I place adjective here, no problem. In the subsequent layer in the stack, the appropriate part of speech will be uncovered, will be found out. But at the part of speech tagging layer, we do not want to be very sophisticated. We want to do the basic minimal operation, and we want to do it with full correctness, with full efficiency and correctness. So here, if we bring in many considerations of other layers of NLP like discourse, pragmatics, sentiment, semantics, parsing, then we will not be able to produce an efficient technique. Here, let us do part of speech tag accurately. Let us concentrate on the small job at hand, which is part of speech tagging. So I hope you have understood the concept of AL, which is an important linguistic insight. Books which deal with part of speech tagging and papers which give techniques for part of speech tagging do not make this distinction. Therefore, it is important for you to look at the lectures, understand the lectures, because many of the discussions come from our insight, which is not present in commonly available books and papers. Now we'll look at the dictionary meaning of golf. We see that the noun has 3 senses, and there is a verb sense of golf. We golf the whole day in the weekend. Okay, this is the verb sense of golf. But here golf is not functioning as a verb. So you can see that there is no adjective part of speech of golf. You can see that. So therefore we have to invoke the AL rule. It is an adjectival, though it is fundamentally a noun. Golf is a noun. Similarly, if I take this sentence, it is an example of nominal. Many don't understand the problem of hungry. Hungry fundamentally is an adjective, but it is functioning as noun. Many don't understand the problem of the hungry or hungry people. People is dropped here. The noun is dropped. This kind of dropping is called ellipsis problem. Again, we'll have to deal with this when we do more complex NLP tasks like discourse. So here hungry is inherently adjective but functioning as noun, so it is a nominal. Example of adverbial, come quick. Quick is inherently an adjective, but here functioning as adverb because it is qualifying a verb. And the example of a verbal, that means a word which is not a verb but functioning as verbal, is very, very difficult to find. I give you the task of finding a verbal in any language of your choice. It is not at all easy to find it in English. The main reason is that in English, almost all nouns function as verb. Almost every word can function as a verb. So not function, they are actually verbs. I mean, in the dictionary, you will see that they have verb as part of speech. So this is an example of nominal, adverbial, adjectival. Already we saw golf stick. I leave it to you as a task to find an example of verbal in any language of your choice. If you don't find it in English, find it for your mother tongue or maybe Hindi or any language.
So,
Yeah, please.
I wanted to ask, like in dictionary, it might not be always that only one meaning, one type of meaning is there. So like hungry can have multiple rules, right? In English, in dictionary too.
Right, right. So hungry, you can see here there are many meanings of hungry. Yes, go ahead. Then what is the question?
I mean, it can act as so a word can act as adjective. It can act as adverb in the dictionary too. In that case, how do we find the how do we say write the al rule?
No. So you are bringing in two issues, okay? And these two issues, of course, go together, but one should keep them separate. So you can see here, I have reproduced here for, the dictionary.com information on hungry. So dictionary.com says hungry is an adjective, and under adjective itself there are many senses. He approached the table with a hungry look. This is the common meaning of hungry. Hungry land, that means a country full of hungry people. So the land is not hungry, people living in this land are hungry. So this is a metaphorical usage. Okay, here we are encountering a phenomenon in NLP, again a difficult phenomenon called projection. Okay, so this is leading to a metaphorical situation. And the third sense is the depression years were hungry times. Okay, here hungry land, and this is hungry times. This is also a metaphorical usage, and you can see that the meanings are different. The third meaning is marked by scarcity of food, strongly or eagerly desirous. Hungry land, lacking needful or desirable elements, not fertile, poor. This is the second sense. And first sense is having desire, craving, or need for food, feeling hunger. So three senses under same part of speech. So what is done is that the dictionaries first record the part of speech, noun and verb, and under every part of speech they give different senses of the word. But the part of speech tag layer, we do not worry about the sense. Okay, we worry about the grammatical role, not sense but grammatical role. That's why part of speech tagging is also sometimes called shallow parsing. Shallow parsing. That means the role, grammatical role, not the semantic role, is in focus here. Does it answer your question?
So I just so yeah, my main doubt was basically in dictionary, are we assuming that only one part of speech tagging is there for every word?
No. Look at this golf. You have noun part of speech, you have verb part of speech.
Okay, so anything different from this will be considered under al rule?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yes. Anything different from what is recorded in the dictionary, an established dictionary, Oxford, Cambridge, etc., is the al rule.